In 1964, as these large farms in Montecito were being divided up, people who used to ride from one house to another house, suddenly they were blocked access.
Montecito Trails Foundation emerged to try to protect existing community trails that had no formal designation as public trails.
Having your public access taken away is something that lights a true fire in your soul. The founders of MTF wanted to protect these easements so different people in the neighborhood could connect with one another. They wanted this community to have a semi-rural feel with lots of access.
You get a great sense of pride because these are our trails, community trails, and they're in great shape, and it takes us to places that people would otherwise never be able to experience.
I find great peace and joy. I mean, it's my happy place.
I love hiking because you get to get out into nature, and it's a great place to make all sorts of memories with friends and family.
When I go out into nature, I find what I need most, whether it's a connection with wildlife, whether it's some peace and quiet. Sometimes it's just seeing friends from the neighborhood. So what I leave with is exactly what I need.
My favorite trail is Hot Springs. It's the one I have the most memories on. I've gone with like a bunch of friends and family, and it's absolutely beautiful.
My most amazing experience on the trail has been watching my daughter grow on the trail. When we first started hiking, I would have to pull her behind me. And now when she's out on the trail, she's running way ahead of me.
The greatest gift is to see people using the trails. We want to see public access, and we want to see people creating their own stories on our trails.
I hike to talk to the secret whisper tree.
Here we are back in our happy place. Lecky and I, we hike these trails probably 5 to 6 times a week. We love these trails because they keep us active and fit.
I am so grateful for the Montecito Trails Foundation because this is my gym, and I couldn't survive without this hike every day.
I have had some wonderful times with my horse on the trails. You go and see beautiful wildflowers, and you see wonderful rock formations, and the creek is just making the gurgling noises as you cross, and the horse's feet's going through the leaves in the fall.
Trails keep people out of the habitats of wildlife. Is this sacred space for us to pass through the forest?
My dad and I went on a night hike, and I heard these animals and bushes, and they kind of scared me. And I seen a couple skunks. It was kind of cute too.
Snakes are always fun to see, as long as you don't get too close to them.
When you spend time in nature, you wanting to do everything you can to protect it. So it helps just raise awareness of the challenges. We know this more than anyone because of the Thomas Fire and debris flow. It brought the stark realities of the impact of climate change right here to our doorsteps.
The trails were gone. You could hardly even see them. There were rocks everywhere, down trees. I remember looking across this one section of trail, and it didn't look anything like what a trail should look like, and it was depressing.
Pretty devastating, and frankly, for me, I did not know if I would have the opportunity to ride the trails again.
We went from a feeling of being incredibly overwhelmed to tackling the trail work one day at a time, one trail at a time, and slowly but surely seeing the progress and realizing that it was something we could do.
That it brought all the groups together in order to help work on the trails, and that was a really positive experience.
All of us surprised ourselves with what we were able to do by uniting together. The local trail groups, the Bucket Brigade, the county, the city, working together on a common goal, and the power of that was just amazing.
There were great partnerships helping to rebuild community, whether it's the physical, geographic community or the human aspect of it.
They worked so hard, so quickly to open the trail system. I don't know how they did it.
We've had to realign a few of the trails and put them in back where they weren't necessarily before, but make them way better than they were before. And I've been involved in some of those projects that we've done, especially at trailheads like Cold Springs, building some of these retaining walls.
It gave you a feeling of hope as we began to open the trails, as the community began to rebuild.
The trail that we've been working on for the past year has been the San Ysidro Trail. And when we first started on that trail, it was scary. There was one particular spot towards the top that's called the Psycho Slide. I had trouble walking down the trail across the slide. And now you go across it and people don't even break stride.
I thought it would be at least 5 years, and within 2 years it was done.
The enthusiasm around the trails has been a great way of the community recovering from the debris flow.
The recovery from the Thomas Fire and debris flow isn't the end of the story. The future for MTF is to continue to maintain the trails. As the environment is becoming more aggressive, as we're seeing heavier rains, fires, our work will be needed more and more. Additionally, part of what we hope to condition is more trails in the future.
One of our hard challenges is trying to design and work on the trails so that they're enjoyable for everybody, and at the same point in time, they're being built in a sustainable manner so that they can withstand the use of all these different trail users and the environment as well.
Without community organizations to maintain the trails, access would become more and more difficult. At the very best, it would become much more technical. So instead of it being a somewhat rocky walk, maybe 10% of the users now would be able to safely traverse the trails.
If it weren't for Montecito Trails Foundation, these trails would not be here. I can definitively say that.
Very possible that many of the most enjoyable trail easements that we have would either not exist or would have been closed down by now.
I work on the trail maintenance committee, and so occasionally I go out and I trim the bushes back, or I do a little digging.
I have adopted a trail, and my trail is the Buena Vista Trail. If I see something that I can't take care of, boom, it's taken care of right away.
I think one of our greatest strengths is that we can have volunteer days, but then we can also hire professional crews. So what's unique about our organization is that we're not dedicated to one particular crew, but we use a bunch of different crews for different trails. Our volunteer groups are amazing, but ultimately we also need professional trail work crews.
Working for Montecito Trails Foundation, you get people all day long that come by and they see the work that you're doing and they're so appreciative. They always say thank you. And the immediate satisfaction that we get from somebody hiking the trail and saying, I was here last week, we couldn't even get past this tree was down, and now we can get past it. Thank you so much.
We brush the trails seasonally, 1 to 2 times a year. Here in the fall and winter, everything is died back, but come spring, the trail corridor will narrow to sometimes almost unrecognizable 6 inches. So we come through and we widen the trail corridors. In the time of COVID, we widened them even a little bit more for physical distancing.
Because of what we're going through with the pandemic, a lot of us are isolated at home. Our kids are going to school at home. To spend time in nature on the trails, it just helps with our overall well-being.
Sometimes I have to lie and say I'm going on a Zoom so that I can get out here and do this instead. Because I can't live without these hikes, and they're just too many Zooms.
Go out and use the trails every day if you can. It is one of the best cardiovascular, mental clearing experience.
I see people of all ages. It's just great diversity. They are just happy and they say hello, and you can make a conversation.
It's important to just give it a try because it'll be really worth it. I remember I didn't really like hiking at first because it was like a lot of work. But once you get used to it, you get to notice like the small things.
We want to guarantee beyond our own lifespan that these trails will be cared for, that the easements will be maintained, they will be fought for.
Thank you to the Montecito Trail Foundation for everything that they do for maintaining our trails and securing its care for the future.
Thank you, Montecito Trails Foundation.
Did you know that without you, our work would not be possible?
So thank you to
our volunteers,
our members and donors,
our community partners,
our neighbors,
the hikers,
the bikers,
the riders,
and the visitors.
To all of you who empower us to maintain, restore, and preserve our beautiful trail system. Thank you.
Thank you.